Some scars run deeper than skin. Lena knelt in the cold stone chamber, shackles biting her wrists. Painful reality. The air crackled with unease, heavy with fear, shadows stretching like fingers across the walls. She could almost hear the whispers, those haunted tales of the cold alphaking. Draven. His name echoed in her mind, a warning and a curse. Everyone knew the stories. Everyone. Ruler of the North. Ruthless. Unyielding. Alpha. He was a demon in the flesh for some. But here he was, an enigma cloaked in shadows and power, looming before her with the weight of his title pressing down on her. She could see his cold gaze, piercing like ice, and it sent a shiver down her spine. He had taken her from the ashes of her broken past, a twisted act of mercy wrapped in chains. She was his servant now. Unwanted, but necessary. The room felt stifling, as if the very walls were closing in, and she hated it. No. She wouldn't let him crush her spirit, not him. Her chin lifted, defiance sparking in her chest. She might wear the chains, but they wouldn't shackle her soul. Draven turned slightly, his presence a dark storm brewing, commanding. But she couldn't hide her bitterness. She wouldn't let the weight of her position break her. Because deep down, Lena knew. She materialized from the grime of despair, and she was not alone. There was an ember of determination within her, the flicker of rebellion. He was more than the monster everyone painted him to be. She felt it. She could see it when the cold mask slipped just briefly. She caught a glimpse of his vulnerability. No one was untouchable. As he stepped closer, shadows coiling around him, the air shifted. Awkwardness settled thick, a tension that pulled at them. A struggle, a game, duty against desire, and something else, a spark. His past haunted him too. Draven bore his own scars, triggers crafted by loss and darkness. There was a flicker of anger, an edge of pain, as he fought against the shadows threatening to consume him. She didn't know how she could help him. She could barely help herself. But in his eyes, she saw a hint of hope. What did it mean for someone like her? A sudden noise jolted her back. The distant echoes of murmurs filled the halls. Danger, chaos. A threat loomed, whispers of rebellion stirring beyond the palace walls. Usurpers. Shadows shifted again, and Lena felt her purpose sharpen. Fear morphed into focus. Survival was no longer enough. She had found her fight. Draven tilted his head, sensing the unrest. His expression hardened, transforming into a mask of steel. He was a king, and kings did not yield. They commanded. But she wouldn't back down. Only fools entered a lion's den and expected mercy. As the tension thickened, the world outside thrummed with a wrathful energy. Lena conspired in silence. She wouldn't just follow. She'd strategize. She had to outsmart him, the very man she was supposed to serve. But the closer they moved in proximity, the more she began to understand him. The darkness from within their souls clashed and sparked with an undeniable chemistry. Their paths were entwined now, inseparable in the chaos. Would he recognize the fire within her? That she was more than a mere servant? Draven's icy exterior held her gaze, and the world outside continued to shift into tumult. Her heart raced, a quickening pulse as a force greater than fear gripped her. Could they forge an alliance built on survival? Did he sense it too? The darkness enveloped them both, pulling tighter around the edges. Then the door swung open, and chaos poured in. What would happen next? Lena squeezed her eyes shut, bracing for the inevitable storm of chaos that followed. The door creaked harshly, an unwelcome intrusion breaking the fragile moment they shared. Outside, the laughter of servants turned to gasps of terror. Panic gripped the air, slicing through the tension like a knife. One of the palace guards stormed in, his armor clanking like a thunderous alarm. "Your Majesty!" he barked, breathless. A rebellion brews in the north. The usurper Blackthorn gathers forces outside the walls. Draven's face turned to stone. No more warmth. Just ice. He stood taller, his posture shifting from contemplative to commanding. "Summon the council," he ordered, voice cold and clear. "We will discuss this at once." Lena felt the weight of the moment, the gravity of the king's command. One moment she was bound by her chains, but now it felt different. Something crackled between them, a thread of intention woven tightly. Yet, purpose coiled around fear like a serpent, squeezing her lungs. As Draven dismissed the guard, she spoke before she could think twice. "I can help." His gaze, sharp like a dagger, sliced through her resolve. "Help? You're a servant, Lena. Nothing more." Those words cut into her soul. But she refused to back down. "I am more than that. I know the people. I hear their whispers. They trust me." Draven studied her. In that moment, the cold mask wavered slightly. The tension shifted again, heavy with a brewing confrontation. "And what makes you think I can trust you?" The truth echoed within her. "Because you have nothing to lose and everything to gain." His silence filled the air, a pause thick with unspoken thoughts. She took a step closer, heart thundering. "Let me in, even just for a moment. No chains, no titles, just a plan." The corners of his mouth twitched, almost a ghost of a smile, but it was gone before she could grasp it. "Very well. Speak." Breathless, Lena pored over the knowledge she had gathered. As the plots unraveled in her mind, she felt empowered. For the first time, she wasn't just surviving, she was living. They strategized together, hesitant allies forging a bond beneath the weight of treachery. Days blurred into one another. Time stretched and twisted. The tension thickened, coiling around them like a growing storm. They found themselves in the corridors after council meetings, exchanging sharp glances and whispered words. The fire within them danced, flickering between vulnerability and reckless ambition. But with the rising rebellion came threats lurking in the shadows. One night, a figure entered her chambers, cloaked and shrouded in mystery. "Lena," he hissed, a figure from her past, an old friend turned rogue in the wake of her family's downfall. "You don't belong with him. You know that, right?" She stood her ground, pulse racing. "I belong where I choose. This is bigger than you, bigger than me." His eyes glinted with shadows, concern evident. "He'll betray you, use you. Kings do that." "Maybe," she shot back, defiance vibrating in her tone. "But you don't know him. He's more than the monster everyone thinks he is. Draven is the cold alpha king," he interrupted sharply, "and you're nothing but a pawn in his game." The words stung. She felt it deep in her gut. But she wouldn't back down. Wouldn't let the chains of her past bind her to fear. Not anymore. "I'm fighting for something now," she declared fiercely. "We're fighting together." Days turned into weeks, the tension pulsating like a live wire. Lena found herself facing conflicting emotions. Draven's icy demeanor kept unraveling, revealing moments of warmth interlaced with darkness. His laughter, though rare, cut through the gloom, binding her heart to him. A night draped in silver moonlight shifted everything. They met in the gardens, a rare seclusion that felt almost dangerous. The weight of unsaid words hung between them. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. He turned to her, ice melting in his gaze. "What?" "Taking me from the ashes. Being here, with me." Draven's expression softened, if only for a heartbeat. "Regret is a luxury, Lena. One I can't afford." "But what if I said I could help you find a way out of the darkness?" He stepped closer, shadows flickering around them. And what if you opened my heart to more pain? What if we just trust? But uncertainty clouded the air. It felt like stepping into an abyss without knowing if there was ground beneath. Their fingers brushed lightly, igniting something deeper, something fierce. The tension crackled. Just a touch, a promise hanging in the balance. Could they forge an unbreakable bond? But duty surged, pulling him back. Tomorrow, I have to address the council again. Blackthorn will strike. That night, chaos seeped back into her thoughts. The rebellion was boiling over, and they were mere pawns caught in its whirlpool. Was trust a fool's errand? Would they survive the storm that was coming? Lena paced the dimly lit corridor, her heart racing with anticipation. Morning dawned heavy with anxiety. The bells tolled, warning of impending danger as whispers of betrayal buzzed around the palace like an ominous hum. Today, she had to stand beside Draven as equals. The council chamber loomed ahead, doors carved from ancient wood, dark and foreboding. Inhaling deeply, she pushed the doors open, stepping inside. A mixture of doubt and determination filled the air as the council members turned, eyes widening in surprise. Draven stood at the center, a storm brewing behind his icy exterior. "Your Majesty," she called, voice steady, drawing his attention. "You can't face this alone. We need a united front." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Surprise and skepticism bobbed like boats in a stormy sea. "You misunderstand your role, Lena," Draven replied, skepticism etched across his features. "No, I understand perfectly," she shot back, determination igniting. "The people want reassurance. They need to feel united." "Do you really believe your words can turn the tide against Blackthorn?" Draven challenged, scrutinizing her. "Yes," she asserted fiercely, her heart racing. "I'm not just a servant anymore. I know the people. They trust me." The nobles exchanged glances, skepticism thick in the air. A servant rallying the people? One scoffed, laughter erupting. But before Lena could respond, Draven's voice commanded attention. "Underestimate her at your own risk. Lena has proven her worth." Silence enveloped the chamber, the council members caught off guard by their king's willingness to listen. Lena seized the moment, pouring her heart into a vision of unity and strength. She spoke of alliances and the need for a plan to counter Blackthorn's forces. The nobility leaned forward, the weight of their skepticism shifting. When she finished, a heavy silence fell over the chamber. Would they rally behind her? A few nobles shook their heads, but Draven commanded their attention. "Let's forge this alliance," he declared, meeting her gaze with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. Joy surged through her as plans formed. For days they strategized, Lena guiding the discussions, bolstering support among the nobles. Draven stood at her side, and for the first time, she felt like they were more than just king and servant. Slowly their bond deepened, fueled by shared purpose. But as tension surged, the world outside began to crack. The rebellion swelled and whispers of a brutal confrontation grew louder. It was laughable. They were mere pawns in a grander game. But tonight brought clarity. Once again, they found themselves alone beneath the moonlight, the air thick with unspoken words. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked quietly. Draven paused, searching her gaze. "Regret is a luxury I can't afford. What if I said you could trust me? I can help." She stepped closer, her heart racing. "Together, we can overcome the darkness surrounding us." His eyes flickered, shadows dancing in their depths. "What happens when you open my heart to more pain?" "Then let's face it together," she urged, fingers brushing against his, igniting something fierce between them. But before the moment could bloom, a rumble echoed, shattering the stillness. The palace shook violently, alarms ringing out. "Your Majesty!" A guard rushed in, breathless. Blackthorn's forces are at the gates. Draven's jaw clenched, fury igniting within him. We need to fight back. No, we must outsmart them. Trust me, rally the guards. No arguments, she countered, her voice fierce. You need me alive. You need everyone strong. He hesitated, his eyes searching hers. Very well. What do we do? Lure them into the courtyard. The walls will protect us. The archers will have the advantage. Draven nodded, recognizing the wisdom in her plan. Tension shifted, a thread of hope binding them together in urgency. They coordinated the positioning of guards, every heartbeat thick with adrenaline. The air crackled with unease as they prepared. Chaos soon erupted outside. War cries rang out, mingling with the clash of metal and the pounding of boots against stone. Now! Lena shouted, directing the guards to the arrows above. She stood at the forefront, determination aflame within her as the first arrows flew. They struck true, forcing the rebels to falter. Draven fought valiantly, his stature commanding. Each swing of his sword fueled her courage. But in the chaos, Lena spotted Blackthorn, a figure looming amidst his adversaries, eyes locked on the throne. Drive them back! Draven roared, galvanizing his troops. We need to protect our home! Yet just as victory flickered on the horizon, a tremor shook the ground, sending chaos spiraling outward. Lena! Draven's voice broke through the noise. Stay back! But she would not cower. This was her fight too. We face this together. Trust me. Lena! Draven shouted again, but determination hardened her resolve. A threat charged toward them, and she couldn't let him face it alone. Together! She cried out, plunging forward to intercept an attack aimed at him. Her instinct kicked in, deflecting the blade just in time. Draven's eyes widened. Did you— No time, she shouted, heart racing as adrenaline surged. Fight! With renewed vigor, they pushed through the wave of invaders, side by side, a united front against the tempest. Lena's fear morphed into strength, passion igniting the battlefield as they fought. Could they truly emerge from this chaos unscathed? Or would the rebellion strip them of everything they had worked to build? The clash of steel and the cries of battle engulfed them, a symphony of chaos resonating in the courtyard. Lena fought with fervor, adrenaline coursing through her veins like fire. Each swing of her weapon was a declaration, a refusal to be silenced. Together with Draven, they wove through the fray like a deadly dance, instincts guiding their movements. But as the tides of battle surged, fatigue began to blur the edges of her focus. Sweat dripped down her brow, mingling with the stench of blood and sweat in the air. She glanced at Draven, his powerful form cutting through opponents with ease. His determination ignited something deep within her, pushing away the fatigue, the doubts that threatened to creep in. He was a king, and yet he fought alongside her, no longer just a servant, but a partner in arms. Stay close, Draven shouted, his voice commanding. We need to regroup. Lena nodded, her eyes locked on the chaos that swirled around them. The line between friend and foe faded as shadows collided. She ducked and dodged, barely evading a blow aimed at her head, that sickening clanging of metal against metal ringing in her ears. Then she spotted Blackthorn again, the rebel leader moving through the melee with a sinister grace. He was trouble, a dark storm that threatened to consume everything in his path. There, she shouted, pointing him out to Draven. We have to take him down. It won't be easy, Draven replied, sidestepping an attacker. He'll have guards. Then let's create a distraction, she suggested, heart pounding. I can draw them away while you flank him. Draven hesitated, uncertainty flickering in his gaze. But it's dangerous. I know the risk, she said, voice steady. But it's our only chance. Trust me. He looked at her, hesitation resting heavily in the air. For a heartbeat, the chaos swirled around them, and then the tension snapped like a taut string. All right, just be careful. Always, she shot back. With a deep breath, she launched herself into the chaos, weaving through the fighting with an agility born of desperation. She shouted, calling out to draw attention away from Draven. "Over here! Come and get me!" For a moment, it worked. Some of Blackthorn's guards turned, snarling and shouting, their focus shifting to her. She darted around the courtyard, challenging them to follow. Draven seized the opportunity, moving stealthily among the fight toward Blackthorn. The rebel was larger than expected, a mass of shadows and venom. He fought with a twisted malice, every swing of his sword laced with fury. Lena's heart raced as she felt the danger, the weight of potential loss crashing close. But she did not falter. She continued to maneuver, dodging attacks, drawing the guards further away from the looming figure, leading them into a cluster of armed palace guards. "Get her!" one of the rebels shouted, charging after her. Lena spun away, launching herself behind a pillar for cover. She felt the adrenaline heightening her senses, heightening her awareness of the battlefield just beyond. Her mind raced. She had to keep moving or risk being trapped. "Can't catch me," she taunted, the thrill of danger weaving into her words. But soon, several guards drew near, closing the gap between them. She darted again, eyes scanning for Draven. Where was he? Farther afield, she spotted him in a fierce exchange with Blackthorn, their swords clashing in a brutal dance. Draven's brows furrowed with concentration, each strike powerful but careful. He had to end this fight. He had to take down the rebellion's heart. But Blackthorn fought with a dirty resolve, each quick feint making it harder for Draven to land a decisive blow. Lena's breath caught in her throat. She watched, heart pounding, knowing she needed to help him. But how? If she entered the fray, she risked drawing attention back to herself and losing the advantage they had gained. Then she remembered. The archers. If she could reach them first. Taking a risk, she broke into a sprint. She ducked low, weaving skillfully through the tumult, body coiling like a spring. An arrow whizzed past her, nearly grazing her shoulder, a sign she was getting closer. "Up there!" she called, spotting the archers on the battlements. "Focus on the rebel leader. We need him taken out." Lifting her arms, she gestured as she neared the steps leading to the upper ground, where arrows could rain down. She gained height quickly, her legs carrying her with purpose. Once on the platform, she shouted to the archers, "Cover Draven! Take your shots!" They nodded, readying their bows, focused on the fray below. Lena took a breath, steadying her heart. With their focus shifted to Blackthorn, she knew she could return to the ground. It would give Draven the chance he needed. Her eyes locked on the fight below. Draven was still locked in battle, sweat beading on his forehead, determination etched in every line of his face. "Now!" Lena shouted, and the archers released their arrows. Bolts rained down like vengeance itself, striking Blackthorn's guards one by one. Chaos erupted once more, and in the frenzy, Blackthorn stumbled, a thin arrow grazing his arm. "Draven!" Lena called out, urging him to press the advantage. "Now's your chance." Pushing forward with fierce determination, Draven seized the moment. With a growl, he closed the gap, lunging with all his might. They met, swords clashing, a fierce exchange of power. With a final swing, Draven's blade met its mark. Blackthorn roared in fury, stumbling back as the weapon struck. He glared at Draven, a deep hate simmering behind his eyes. They were locked for a moment, the world fading into a blur. Then, with a final thrust, Draven took Blackthorn down. A hush fell across the battlefield, reverberating with sudden disbelief. But victory came too swiftly. Lena's heart thudded in her chest as the remaining rebels faltered. The tide shifted, and she could feel the energy turning around them. But there was still chaos at hand. Draven turned, looking for her. She caught his gaze and smiled, heart swelling with relief. They had persisted. They had fought against the tempest together. Yet, deep within her, doubt lingered. The rebellion may have fallen back, but would it truly be over? Would they survive to forge the bond that had begun to grow between them? The battlefield fell silent, but the air was thick with tension. Lena's heart raced, pounding against her chest as she caught Draven's gaze. He stood victorious, but it felt like they were merely at the eye of the storm. "We need to secure our position," Draven declared, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. The cheers from his guards rang hollow against the backdrop of the fallen. Lena turned her eyes toward the bodies scattered across the ground, both friend and foe. It was a reminder of the price they paid for every victory. "Draven," she started, stepping closer. "While we rejoice, the threat isn't over. They could regroup, and we can't let them catch us off guard again." He met her intense gaze, frustration written across his face. "I know that, but we can't appear weak. My people need to see their king strong." "We're strong together," she shot back, determination fueling her voice. "Let me help you share this burden." For a moment he remained silent, weighing her words. A flicker of understanding crossed his features, and he stepped back, allowing his anger to dissipate. "Fine. What do? We reach out to our neighbors, form alliances. We can't face this alone," she suggested, urgency threading through her voice. With every breath, she felt hope swell within her, believing in what they could achieve together. Draven sighed, a mix of resignation and acceptance. "You're right. Let's send our word out. There are kingdoms that owe us favors. We need their support." With their plan taking shape, they made their way back into the castle. The atmosphere was thick, filled with noblemen and officers clamoring to discuss the aftermath. Lena surveyed the room, where tension crackled like an electric charge. "Your Majesty," one officer spoke sharply, cutting through the noise. "We have reports of Blackthorn's remaining forces regrouping. They're calling for more support." Draven's jaw tightened as the weight of the threat settled in. "We won't stand idle. We need to go on the offensive." "No," Lena interjected, stepping forward. "If we attack now, we risk losing everything we've just gained. We need to fortify our defenses and prepare for a potential attack." Draven's frustration flared again. "And wait for them to strike? That's a foolish plan." "It's not folly. It's strategy. We can't divide our forces anymore. We have to stay united." Her voice echoed through the chamber, compelling those around them to listen. He ran his hands through his hair, finally letting out a breath of frustration. "Fine. We'll secure our defenses, but don't think I've turned soft." "We're not investigating softness. We're building strength," she assured him, locking eyes with him. Reluctantly, he nodded. "Prepare the messages." For days, Lena poured her heart into crafting letters, reaching out to allies scattered across the kingdoms. Each message felt like a step toward hope, a bridge connecting them to potential support. As days passed, responses began to trickle in, each positive reply igniting something fierce within her. They were not alone. Alliances began to materialize, a web of support strengthening. Maybe they could weather the storm after all. One evening, as Lena finished reviewing the last letter, a knock echoed at her door. She looked up to find Draven standing there, the weariness apparent in his eyes. "Can I come in?" he asked softly. "Of course." She gestured him inside, feeling tension seep out of the air between them. "I wanted to thank you," he said as he approached, "for all your hard work and effort. It means more than I can express." "It's what we need to do," Lena replied, a warm glow blooming within her. "We're fighting this together." He stepped closer, a flicker of vulnerability dancing in his eyes. "But what if it goes wrong? What if we fail?" "Then we'll face it together. You won't be alone in this," she urged, her voice steady amidst the fear that simmered beneath the surface. He hesitated, searching her expression as if seeking assurance. "You truly believe we can win?" "I do," she affirmed, feeling conviction flow through her. Together, we've already overcome so much. Plus, look what we gained from the starting point, she added, nodding towards the letters piled on her desk. The corner of Draven's mouth tilted into a cautious smile. You give me hope, Lena. Then let's make sure it shines bright. We'll forge our path forward. As if having shared a silent agreement, they moved together. It felt exhilarating, a strengthening bond forged in the heat of battle and the uncertainty ahead. But beneath that exhilaration lurked an intensity that could not be ignored. Would their newfound alliances hold up? Could they withstand external pressures and internal fears rising like a tide? For now, they prepared. Each letter confirmed alliances, each response reaffirmed their decision, promising support. Yet, Lena could not shake the feeling lurking at the edges, the sensation that a storm was brewing beyond the horizon. As they plotted and planned, one thing became clear. They needed to remain united not just in strategy, but in trust, for that trust would be their greatest weapon against whatever came next. Was it enough? Or would fate tear them apart just as they began to forge their bonds? The weight of uncertainty lingered, whispering as they prepared for the next battle that awaited them. The tension in Castle Valoran was palpable as Lena and Draven stood at the edge of the battlements, ready to face their enemies. Days of meticulous planning had led to this moment. The sun broke over the horizon, illuminating the gathering clouds, a portent of the storm to come. Even in this moment we fight as one, Lena declared, her voice ringing strong. She looked at Draven, the king who was both her ally and something deeper. We either emerge victorious together or face our downfall together. Draven nodded, the fire of determination in his eyes. We won't back down. This castle, our home, will not fall. As the enemy forces began to march forward, Lena could see the shadow of destruction looming. She steeled herself, gripping her sword tighter. For Valoran, she shouted, echoing the battle cry of their soldiers. The sound reverberated off the stone walls, rallying the troops behind her. Draven lifted his sword high, his voice booming. For our future. But as the opponent's ranks surged, Lena felt her heart pace with intensity. Get ready, she called to the archers stationed behind them. The wind whipped through the air, carrying the scent of anticipation, mingled with the fear that bittered the atmosphere. As the armies collided, Lena fought fiercely. Every swing felt personal, driven by her fierce commitment to protect this place and the people she had come to love. She could see Draven nearby, cutting through the enemy forces with precision, a force to be reckoned with. Lena! Draven shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. A shadow fell over him, and Lena's heart dropped as Blackthorn emerged from the melee, his eyes gleaming with malevolence. Draven! Lena shouted, urgency choking her. Blackthorn lunged, and Lena bolted toward them, adrenaline flooding her veins. Stay back! But she was too late. Draven engaged Blackthorn in a fierce battle, sword clashing against sword. Lena felt the desperation gnawing at her, a need to protect him surging forward. She pushed through the fighting, determination fueling her steps. Yield, Draven. You think you can stand against me? Blackthorn taunted, his breath hot with frustration. No, I will not cower, Draven growled back, pushing against Blackthorn's weight. Lena reached them, adrenaline propelling her courage. Together, she cried, positioning herself beside Draven. Let's finish this. In a single fluid motion, they flanked Blackthorn, their swords working in tandem. This ends now, Draven barked, the fire of their resolve igniting once more. With a swift movement, Lena shifted her stance, and they struck. Blackthorn stumbled back, surprise flashing in his eyes as they pressed their advantage. No, you cannot defeat me, he roared, but the ferocity of their combined effort pulled him down. Together, Lena shouted again as they took him by surprise. In a final thrust, Draven's blade found its mark. Blackthorn fell to his knees, eyes wide with disbelief. It's over, Draven panted, his blade poised against the defeated man. As the battlefield fell silent at the realization of their victory, Lena felt her breath catch, a surge of relief flooding over her. She turned to Draven, who looked at her with wonder and something deeper, a bond forged in fire and struggle. "We did it," she whispered, her heart racing with the thrill of survival. But amidst their sweet victory, darkness still lingered on the horizon. "What now?" she asked, a hint of worry creeping into her voice. He took her hand, squeezing it tightly. "We must rally our allies, ensure they understand we are not just kings and kingdoms, but people unified against a common enemy." The shouts of their soldiers erupted around them, the cheers of triumph mingling with the realization of what lay ahead. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. "Tomorrow, we fortify our defenses and reach out to our neighbors," she insisted, the fierce determination igniting once again within her. "Agreed," Draven replied, drawing closer. "But for now, let's allow our people to rejoice." The celebration echoed through the castle, warmth and laughter filling the cold stone walls. Yet, as Lena surveyed the walls and the gathered people, she knew they couldn't afford to let their guard down. The battle had been won. But who would rise to challenge them next? It was just the beginning. United, they had carved a glimmer of hope from the ashes of despair. As darkness swept across the horizon, Lena tightened her grip on Draven's hand, knowing that together they would face whatever came. They were more than just allies. They were bound by purpose, hearts intertwined in the quest for peace. Together, they would forge a new path forward, ready to embrace the challenges that awaited them. And so, they prepared not just for war, but for a future forged in unity, facing the dawn of a new era together.